I gave up alcohol as a Christian, and in this video, I'm going to be explaining why. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David. I'm a 22-year-old Christian who is learning how to be a faithful disciple of Jesus Christ in the normal day today. I know there's arguments for and I know there's arguments against alcohol. I know there's this conversation around alcohol, whether this should be something that we should be allowed to participate in if we're doing it responsibly, or whether the activity of drinking alcohol should be an activity that should be totally separate from the Christian lifestyle. But I'm not going to be diving into any of those arguments. Simply what I'm doing in this video is sharing why I gave up alcohol and my reasons for it. And I think that my reasons for it might be something that you might not have expected or might not have thought of. And so I pray that this video can change our perspective on alcohol, as well as our perspective on being intentional when it comes to spending our money. And so a verse that I believe that just kind of anchors this conversation is, okay, this is, by the way, this is not 1 John. It's not 1 John. That's from an old video. The verse is 1 Corinthians 10:31, and Paul writes, "So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God." Whether you eat or drink, everything that we do it all for who? The glory of God. And so a question that we need to be thinking about is, God, in the small things and in the big things, right? Whether we eat or drink or whatever we are doing, Lord, in my actions, am I giving you the glory? And Lord, in the things that I'm doing, are they glorifying to you, Lord? Or are they not glorifying to you? And I think those are questions that we need to be having in our back pocket. We need to be having on our mind consistently of, man, Lord, am I glorifying you? And are my actions able to glorify you, right? Or are they not glorifying? Because as a faithful disciple of Jesus Christ, we don't live for anything but for God's glory. We live to give God his glory. And so with that in mind, I remember my finance professor. So I'm getting my bachelor's in business finance, and my finance professor was saying, David, this is how I spend, this is how I invest, and this is how I save my money. If people were able to look at my transactions, would they think I'm a Christian, right? Would they see that I'm faithful with my money, right? And so how do we as Christians be faithful and good stewards when we spend, save, and invest our money? And so when it comes to spending money, can I justify that buying a 12-pack of Modelo's as a faithful decision? When I buy beer, can I justify and say, God, I'm glorifying you right now. God, I'm being faithful. I'm being a great steward with my money because this Modelo is going to give me so much joy. It's going to give me X, Y, and Z. And for me, I really have a hard time, right? I think one question we could be asking ourselves is, who is it hurting? Is it hurting us? I don't think it's really hurting anyone. But as we know, I'm a big economics guy as well as in Economics 101, we learn about this concept of trade-offs. Stay with me, guys. Stay with me. Trust. This concept of trade-offs. And trade-offs are simply things that we choose over another thing. And so, for example, we choose Jesus. We choose to let go of our sin because Jesus is far greater. And Jesus can satisfy us way more than our sin. And so, not saying that alcohol is a sin. I know that's a controversial statement, blah, blah, blah. But what I'm saying is, I can't really justify buying alcohol because although I could spend my money on Modelo's, I'd rather spend my money on helping end child poverty. And I know you might be thinking, whoa, David, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. What are you talking about ending child poverty, right? But a trade-off is, right, I'm choosing one thing over another. And for me, the way that I spend my money is, okay, I could spend $40 on alcohol, right, on Modelo's. Or I could spend my $40 on helping end child poverty when I donated it to Compassion International. And it's simply a math thing, right? Compassion International on their website has this, right? $43 a month will provide your sponsored child with what? Malnutrition monitoring and intervention, right? Medical checkups regularly, mentorship, education, encouraging word of support, and introduction to the love of God. And how do we get all these? by donating $43 a month. And so for me, it just comes down to the math. I could spend $43 a month on alcohol, and I know for a lot of us, alcohol gets really, really expensive. So sometimes that number is even bigger. But I truly believe that when I spend my money on Compassion International and choosing that over buying alcohol, that's a trade-off that I would take 10 out of 10 times. I think sometimes I push the cause aside, right? And if I live in my own bubble, I'm totally fine with buying alcohol. But when I truly understand that I'm part of this body, that I'm a part of this world, that I'm called to love sacrificially, I'm willing to sacrifice beer and alcohol if that means I can contribute in some kind of small way to help end child poverty, or put in whatever this is. I'm willing to give up alcohol if I can contribute to X, Y, and Z cause. And so I think as Christians, we love sacrificially because Jesus died for us sacrificially, right? And so if Jesus is willing to lay down his life, what are we willing to lay down? Are we willing to lay down, for me specifically, alcohol so I can be able to contribute to this cause specifically? Because at the end of the day, as followers of Christ, we don't just read the Bible just to read the Bible, to gain all these facts, but we read the Bible so that we can be equipped as disciples of Jesus Christ and to become like the one that we are following, and that is Jesus. And if Jesus pulls up, is Jesus buying the beer? Or is he contributing to Compassion International? My goodness, he's done a lot more, but I think we know what he is going to choose over that. And so I just pray that this video, this wasn't even a video about alcohol, to be honest. This is a video about being great stewards and being faithful with our money when it comes to our saving, our spending, and our investing. Because everything that we have, even ourselves, belong to God. And how do we steward that? And how do we cultivate that to represent God well? Because whether we eat or drink, whatever we do, in the big and the small things, we do it what? For who? The glory of God. And so, God, how do I glorify you with my money? And that was the reasoning, that was the justification why I decided to give up alcohol. Because regardless of what alcohol has to offer, I'd far rather put my money to a cause such as Compassion International. And so I hope this video made us think a little bit differently, maybe about alcohol, maybe about finances. And at the end of the day, our God is a God who gives wisdom generously, James 1:5. And so continue to pray for that wisdom and continue to ask. I think for us, when it comes to getting the answers that we need, I think we need to be asking better questions. And so as disciples, let's ask ourselves, Lord, am I giving you all the glory in everything that I do? And in everything that I do, does it glorify you? Those are two great questions I think we can take away from today's video. Brothers and sisters in Christ, I love you guys. And yeah, go in peace. See ya.